G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it.
Welcome everybody. Today I'm interviewing Tristan White, the founder of the Physio Co based in Melbourne, Australia. And today we're going to be discussing leadership culture for small business owners. So thanks for your time, mate.
No worries, Mick. Nice to be here with you. Looking forward to a chat.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I guess we're just talking offline about where we first came across each other. We didn't actually talk, but I heard you speak at a Vern Harnish event probably around 13 years ago. You worked out in Sydney and sort of followed your journey since, and we've had a few conversations over the way. So, yeah, looking forward to the chat, and particularly around this topic, which is sort of a topic I love and obviously so important for small business owners. So, yeah, it's great to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, just on that topic, leadership culture for small businesses, maybe just give us a bit of background to where you can sort of talk to this and some sort of insights.
Yeah, sure, Mick. So, look, important part of my story is that I'm a qualified physiotherapist, is where I started my professional journey. And I started a one-person physio practice a lot of years ago, really focused on building a strong team culture. And team culture was something that was really obsessed over, and was able to scale up our business by building a strong team culture, and being ranked as one of Australia's best places to work was part of that, the recognition we got for that. But Mick, as time went on and we got this strong team culture, I started looking in the mirror and thinking, there's something missing here. There's something that's not quite working for us. And it was the concept of a leadership culture. It was the concept of the fact that having a strong team culture is such an important foundation for a sustainable business. However, if you don't have a clear, self-aware and forever learning leadership culture in your business, then I don't think you can actually take your business, and I wasn't able to take our business to the next level of stability, sustainability, and probably enjoyment of running the business as a leader. So leadership culture is sort of the concept of forever learning, being vulnerable, being self-aware, and then bringing that into play inside a small business.
Yeah, the vulnerability piece, I think, is a fascinating piece in itself, right? And I think a lot of leaders, from my experience, are often challenged with that sort of principle. So, is there any sort of tips, if you like, for small business owners, how to sort of develop that in any way?
Well, look, Mick. Firstly, I think it does come with experience, and it's if I was talking to my 24-year-old self 20 odd years ago or thereabouts, Mick, I reckon I'd find it hard to receive my own advice. And so, firstly, I reckon us small business owners need to be kind to ourselves and realise that we are on a journey, and we will make some progress over time. But secondly, I'd say that whether I want to admit it or not, Mick, I make a mistake and get something wrong most hours of my life, and whether it's at home or at work. And by acknowledging that fact that I get stuff wrong all day, every day, and therefore there's so many learning opportunities, and then that really opens the door for vulnerability personally, and also to be brave in the way you do things. And I was having a coaching conversation with someone I work with a client last week. And I opened the conversation by saying, look, Sarah, I get things wrong most hours of my life, so I might be wrong right here, but here's what I'm hearing, here's what I reckon's going on. How do I go? And she said, you ain't wrong this time around. That is right on the money. And I think that but by putting that out there and saying, I might be wrong here, but this is what I've got in mind, I reckon we can be vulnerable up front without being scared of being pointed out to get things wrong, Mick. So that's my approach to vulnerability.
Yeah, no, it's a good little tip, and I guess gives context too around the conversations that follow, and just reminds me of a quote more in a sporting sense, but obviously can relate to business. It's if you're not winning, you're learning. It's not about losing, right?
Entirely. It's look at sports. I've got kids, and as many of your listeners probably do, and I coach kids sport, and sometimes you win, and sometimes you learn. And I think if we can apply that to sport, we can apply it to parenting, to business, to everything we're doing. I think you make progress whether you do win or whether you learn. So I think that's a really great reminder for us, Mick.
Yeah, and all very much part of creating psychological safety in an organisation. So it's important from many different angles. So I guess maybe tell our audience about your experience on this topic, and I guess that sort of comes from the Physio Co, and you're telling me that you sort of started another business called Culture is Everything Club. So maybe just give us a few insights into that.
Yeah, sure. So, look, a bit more context about my experience, Mick, is that I'm the founder and CEO of the Physio Co. Physio Co is a community health team that exists to help seniors stay mobile, safe, and happy. We're about to turn 19, early 2023 right now.
Wow.
It was 2004 was just me pretty recently graduated physio, getting started in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, and since that time, we've grown a fair bit, focused on helping older people stay mobile, safe, and happy. So very clear on our core purpose, and we've grown to different states around Australia. We did get up to delivering services in 6 states, and that was when we were really focused on helping older people, mostly in residential aged care facilities. In recent times, we've reshaped, reorganised our business, and now we're smaller. We're in Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide. And we're focused on community services. So that means going to people's own homes and or retirement village units. And that business, 11 times, Nick, we got ranked as one of Australia's 50 best places to work. That's sort of certainly part of the backstory. And then, I suppose coming from that is that by that obsession about building a strong team culture and growing our business based upon it, people start asking me, how do you do it? And that's when I used to have this clunky, long answer to this, how do you build a strong team culture? And no one could follow what the hell I was talking about. I worked hard to bring that into a easier to follow system. And then in 2017, I released a book called Culture is Everything, which was about the 19 steps or the 19 checklist items. I've got a checklist of how to build a strong team culture that we published in the Culture is Everything book. And that book was released. It sold a fair few copies, helped a few people, and from there, I've then expanded that approach to building a strong team culture into a more robust approach where we focus on team culture, and that's exactly what was written in the Culture is Everything book. We now focus on these skills of leadership culture that we're talking about today, of how to lead a leader or leaders of a business grow themselves to become the best leader of the business. And lastly, which is a newer part of the approach, and that is money culture. How do you think about money? How do you talk about money? How do you educate your team about money? And I reckon that by having a system around team culture, a system around leadership culture, and a system around money culture is a really robust way for a business owner to grow a sustainable business. And so, Nick, the Culture is Everything Club is a small, mostly online community where I support service-based owners, business owners, to work on these 3 parts of their business. So that was a pretty long answer to your question, Nick, but that's sort of my story.
Yeah, certainly. On the back of that, from 19 years ago, a raft of experience, as you say, you built Physio Co on the back of culture, which it's a great story in itself. And what I also like about what you did there is you're very, very specific as far as your target market, not trying to be everything to everybody in a physio perspective. So obviously you could, run the business more efficiently and effective and build a, appropriate culture around it. So it's a great story, and so well done. 19 years, it's a good effort.
Yeah, thank you. I reckon we're just getting started though, Nick, because there's plenty more, a long way to go yet, I reckon.
Yeah, I love that. So one of the key implications that small business owners should be aware of with respect to, I guess, the culture in running a small business.
Yeah, well, Mick, I want to. Culture is a pretty broad topic, and I want to keep it really tight on leadership topic in this quick chat we're having today. So the quote that I think is most relevant and most important here, And it's counterintuitive to what many small business owners do think and learn in the early days. It certainly was for me. And that is, the quote is, to lead others, you must firstly learn to lead yourself. To lead others, you must firstly learn to lead yourself. And in my experience, learning and obsessing over reading all sorts of books and articles and listening to podcasts and going to events like the Vern Harnish one you spoke about, leadership is so often spoken about other people. Serve first, leaders eat last, if you read Simon Sinek's book, all that sort of stuff. And don't get me wrong, there is a place for all that sort of stuff. But if you're going to lead a team of people, you got to get your own house in order first. And so learning to lead yourself first is really, really important. And what do I mean by that? Well, as a leader, I've spent so many hours of my life managing and leading others and having conversations with team members as to what's working for them in their job, what's not working for them in their job, where are they headed in their career, what does the next 1 to 3 years look like in their career. And all that stuff is so powerful. But do any of us ever ask ourselves, Mick, what we want to do in the next 1 to 3 years, and being really clear as to what the leadership pathway looks for us rather than forever serving others? And so by getting that really important, why you're here, core purpose, personal core purpose, what do you like to do, personal core values, and then where are you headed personally? I think that's a really important and often missing starting point for leadership culture. And so that's part of where I like to start when I help people building a strong team culture that comes with building their own leadership culture first. So that's part of what I'm talking about there, Nick.
And a cornerstone of that you're saying is being very clear on your sort of personal why, if you like, or purpose in context of the business.
Yeah, entirely. And I think there's other parts to leading yourself first, Mick. So like I like to call it establishing your personal North Star. And that is, where are you headed personally? And the two parts of that I like to talk about are personal core values, and we've mentioned that, and also career goals. Where do you want to head with your career? Because most of us start a small business with a goal or a dream in mind. Over the years, sometimes they can get a bit blurry or not as clear as what we'd like it to be. So establishing your personal North Star is the first part of this concept of leading yourself first. I reckon the next part of it is understanding your default leadership approach. And that is, when you do lead, are you someone that leads with lots of planning? Are you a planner first? Or are you more of someone who likes to organize and get the systems in place and get the troops organized first? So there are planners, there are organizers, there are leaders, and that is that we're going over here, follow me. I think that's another style. And the last one, which I don't think there's enough of us who do this stuff, Mick, and that's the checkers. Because when you're a leader, you need to set the direction, but you darn well need to look back and check whether what you've suggested is actually happening or not. Because if not, we're forever starting things and never finishing anything. And so understanding your default leadership approach, and that is, do you default to planning, do you default to leading, do you default to organizing, or do you default to checking, knowing full well you need to be able to do all those things, but which one is your blind spot is pretty important. So that's the second thing around establishing your leading yourself first concept. And probably the last thing that I think is really important, Mick, is asking for feedback on how you lead. This is part of the vulnerability piece that we mentioned before, but asking for feedback on what works and what doesn't work for your team members, especially around communication. And then when they give you feedback, whether it's praise or something different, really listening to what people are giving you feedback on. That's where we make our changes. And so leadership culture starts with this concept of leading yourself first, establishing your personal North Star, understanding your default leadership approach, and then getting better feedback on how you lead. That's getting into the nitty gritty, but that's sort of the concept that I think was really important for us to have a chat about.
Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? Or you currently don't work a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance? Our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. growsmallbusiness.com.
Yeah, no, that's great way to put it. Very, very simple. And I guess the way you put that North Star is sort of another word is sort of your compass.
Yeah, entirely. Yep.
That's your sort of reference point when you're sort of moving forward, making sure you're on track with your North Star.
Well, Mick, if we're not careful, our life as business owners can be about putting out fires and just firefighting reactively all the time. And I think there's always going to be a bit of firefighting. Whatever you do, there's going to be tough parts. But I think knowing where you're heading and lifting your head up to keep your eyes on the horizon, pretty darn important.
Yeah, and the other bit, leadership style. I've certainly worked with many business owners that create a mess along the way behind them, and they're not checking back. So it's like I get that one. So it's sort of, as you say, understanding which sort of style you've got. So you've got, I guess, the things in place, people in place to work with.
Entirely, that's right.
Yeah. So because sort of got a story you can share around the topic.
Yeah, look, I think so. Two quick ones, Mick. The first one is that my personal journey as a leader, and that is that, yeah, I've obsessed over becoming a leader over the years, and I put that strong team culture approach in place at our business. But after all that, I was not very good at holding people to account. I was not very good at actually being. I was good at being a friend. I wasn't very, very good at being a boss. And I think the middle ground that all of us small business owners need to find the sweet spot is to be a friendly boss. And that is someone who is polite, approachable, interested, but keeps people to account in the way that they need to be held to account to keep us progressing in business. And so, Nick, I engaged an executive coach myself in about 2018, and between 2018 and 2020, I really had to do a hell of a lot of introspective work on myself and realized that connecting with empathy with team members is a very, very important concept, and it's been championed by people like Brené Brown and Simon Sinek in various ways. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there's not a really important part for empathy. But if you turn your head towards one direction, there's empathy. If you turn your head the other direction, all the way to the opposite side, that end of the continuum is accountability. And I reckon it's our job to connect with empathy and then hold people to account with assertiveness and accountability. And that's how we actually make progress, and that's how we help people to become better team members as well. And so I had to learn when I first started working with that executive coach, Mick, the word assertive was a word that I struggled to even say because I got it mixed up with aggressive. To me, assertive and aggressive were the same thing, and I didn't want to be aggressive. But I had to learn that assertive was being clear, was being direct, and was holding people to do what they said they would do. Therefore, they would improve, and our business would improve as well. And so that was a really important learning for me, Nick. So that's the first quick story, and the second one is that a client that I've been working with in the last 12 months or so, service-based entrepreneur and really passionate, really empathetic and people-pleasing type of leader. And she has 2 locations for her service-based business. And she'd been saying yes to her clients, yes to her communities, yes to her staff, yes to her team, yes to her family, yes to everyone, and not many yeses to herself. And as a result, we had to reassess her leadership style and reassess her personal and professional goals. And it turned out the 2 locations was not part of her preferred future and not part of what she wanted to do. And she has bravely and confidently stepped towards establishing one location for a business and becoming what I like to call, and what one of my favorite business books is, a small giant. Small Giants is a great book by Bo Burlingham. I really recommend people have a read or a listen.
Yeah,
and Small Giants is about the concept of being great instead of focusing on only being big. And this is and by assessing the leadership style, deciding what Sian really wanted to be doing with her business, and then bravely making the decision, which was about being great as opposed to being big, is one of the leadership styles that we focus on ourselves to then do better with our businesses and with our teams.
Yeah, that's great, and I'll have a look at that book. Sounds fascinating, sort of along the lines of Jim Collins by the sound of it. And,
yeah, entirely.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, some great tips and insights there, mate. So just to wrap it up, what's a few things you can recommend a small business owner does going forward?
Look, Mick, I reckon this is not new ground. People, small business owners know that they're leaders and know that they have to manage others. That's typically how it works for us. But not very often are we accountable to someone about growing as a leader. And so my suggestion is for if you want to be a better small business owner, then you need to become a better leader. And to become a better leader, you need to be accountable to someone. And so my suggestion is that people park the idea that it's a lonely, isolated job as a small business owner, because I hear that far too often. I get it that it can be a difficult job, but I reckon that we need to say, I need to ask for help, and committing to a leadership lifestyle involves forever learning, but it also involves surrounding yourself with people who will cheer you on for the wins, support you in the tough times, and hold you to account to the behavior change that you need to do. And so I reckon find an accountability partner, hire a coach, join a community, do something that will help you be accountable to being a better leader in the future. Don't stop reading and learning, but don't only read and learn, because it's about actually doing the doing to become a more effective leader over time. Mick, that's my best suggestion.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I guess your culture club is one option, as is our business community that we're rolling out now. So I totally agree. And obviously being a business coach, I all across that, and that accountability piece is something a lot of small business owners miss, but there's no reason they shouldn't be able to gain it in a forum that works for them.
Agreed, Mick. Agreed. And Mick, look, I am a small business owner, and I get it that it feels like a never-ending and very lonely job. But you don't have to let it be like that. There are ways that we can connect. There's the ways that we can improve. We can make the job more rewarding and more like a something that's in our control, as opposed to completely outside of our control. So find some friends, join a community, and be accountable to yourself and others is the best tip I've got.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to leave it. So again, thanks very much for your time, mate.
You're welcome, Mick. Nice to meet you.
Cheers, bud.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.